"You'll lose everything," my mother-in-law said. Then she learned I prosecuted military crimes. She stood over me in that courtroom. Designer suit. Pearl earrings. The kind of woman who's never heard the word no. She smiled like she'd already spent my daughter's future. "By the time I'm done," she whispered, "you won't even remember what it felt like to hold her." So I cried. Right there at the defense table. Let my shoulders shake. Let her believe every word landed. She didn't know I spent 8 years teaching soldiers to break enemies without raising a fist. The past 48 hours? I wasn't falling apart. I was hunting. I grew up in Billings, Montana with not much money but a sharp mind. Joined the military. Became an interrogator and prosecutor at Joint Base Lewis McChord. Then I met Garrett at a veterans fundraiser. Civil engineer. Sweet guy. From a rich family. He didn't care that I went quiet sometimes. We had a small wedding outside and our daughter Lily was born. For 3 years I felt okay. Like the war was finally behind me. Then Deborah showed up at the hospital right after Lily was born. Brought a photographer nobody asked for. Didn't like the name we picked. That was my first look at Garrett's mother. Old timber money, ice-cold control connected everywhere. I didn't fight back. Just filed it away and waited. I'd seen her kind before. Deborah never came at me straight. Too smart for that. She'd send Garrett articles about PTSD and parenting. Always forwarding, always acting like she cared. She slid herself into school pickups, doctor visits, every holiday. Made herself the steady one. She got friendly with my neighbors too. Built a whole circle around me. Took me a while to realize they were reporting back to her. Slowly Garrett started changing. Her phrases came out of his mouth. He'd check with her before deciding anything about Lily. I watched it happen and said nothing. But I wrote everything down. Dates. Conversations. Patterns. Locked the notebook in my old military footlocker. One Tuesday night I opened our shared laptop. 47 emails between Garrett and Deborah. Going back 14 months. They'd been discussing my sealed VA file. A custody timeline. A Seattle attorney named Philip Crane. The last one from Deborah was short. "We're almost there, sweetheart." I closed the laptop. Walked to Lily's room. Watched her sleep for a long time. Then I stayed up the rest of the night. Not crying. Planning. At 7 a.m. I called Marcus Hale. Retired colonel. Best military family attorney around. Filed for divorce before Deborah could move first. Garrett got served at his office. His voicemails started soft, confused, then guilty, then using his mother's exact words. I didn't pick up. 48 hours later Deborah hit back. She filed an emergency petition with the military court. Claimed my PTSD made me dangerous to Lily. The filing had fake witness statements. My VA psych file, which should have stayed sealed. A letter from the Winslow family doctor who'd never treated me a single time. Marcus called me at 11 p.m. I read the whole thing at my kitchen table with cold coffee going stale. Recognized it right away. Not real concern for Lily. A pressure campaign. Designed to make me panic and fold. He wanted to respond immediately. I told him no. Give me 2 days. He argued. I held firm. Then I opened a fresh legal pad and started mapping everything out. Names. Dates. The holes in their story. The lies that would come apart if I just pulled the right thread. Here's what I actually did in the military. Not combat. Something else. I ran interrogation pipelines for high-value targets. 48 hours start to finish. My specialty was called the long rope. You let the subject feel like they're in control. Give them small victories. Let them talk. Wait for the confession to walk through the door on its own. I was good at it. The best in my unit. Only stopped because Lily was coming. That skill set doesn't go away. It just sleeps. Back in the present I reached out to 2 people. Nobody else. First was Danny Okafor. We worked signals intelligence together. She's in Tacoma now doing legal tech. I asked her to confirm one thing. Whether the military courtroom audio system stays on at all times and counts as official record. She got back to me in 6 hours. Yes. Second was Lena Pruitt. Current JAG officer. She owes me her career. I pulled her out of a fire 3 years ago. I asked her to confirm something else. Whether open statements made in a military court proceeding are fully admissible under military law. She also came back in 6 hours. Yes. That was it. I thanked them both and went quiet. People thought I was preparing a defense. lining up witnesses, gathering evidence. They were wrong. I was building a cage. Danny dug through the filing overnight. Called me before sunrise. He found something I missed. The notary stamp on Dr. Foss's letter belonged to Carol Reese. That's Deborah's personal assistant. Been with her 11 years. So the doctor's statement went through Deborah's own office before it landed in court. Then Danny checked the VA record. The one that was supposed to be sealed. Someone pulled it illegally. That's a federal offense. She couldn't trace who yet, but she knew the access point came from inside Washington state. Then she looked at Miriam Taft. The woman who swore she saw me lose it at Lily's school. Danny ran her background in 10 minutes. Miriam's husband sits on the Winslow timber board. Has for years. I stared at the screen. Read it 3 times. This wasn't a nasty custody fight. Deborah had committed federal record theft. She'd forged a notary stamp. She'd coerced a witness tied to her own company. I forwarded everything to Marcus with 3 words. Hold it. Courtroom. Called me right back. Said we should file immediately. Get the whole thing dismissed before lunch. I told him no again. Asked why. Here's what I said. A dismissal protects Lily for 6 months. They'd just refile later with cleaner lies. But a confession on official court record? That protects her for life. Deborah can't wipe a military transcript. Can't buy a judge once it's stamped. Can't charm her way out of federal evidence. Marcus got quiet. Then he said okay. That night Lily asked me something. We were sitting on her bed. She said Grandma Deborah keeps calling. Keeps asking what Mommy says at home. I tucked her hair back. Told her Grandma loves her very much. Then I tucked her in and closed the door. Sat on the bathroom floor for 4 minutes. Didn't cry. Just shook. Then I stood up and went back to work. I went dark on Marcus for 12 hours. Let his calls go to voicemail. Didn't respond to texts. I wanted him to worry. That way Deborah's team would hear about it. Then I showed up to the pre-hearing deposition looking rough. Wore no makeup. Picked a navy blazer that hung loose because I'd lost weight. Let my hair sit however it fell. When they asked me about my diagnosis I teared up. Stumbled over dates. Got confused about which paperwork went where. Philip Crane, Deborah's attorney, saw all of it. He actually relaxed in his chair. Passed a note to his paralegal. Stopped treating the case like a fight. That night Deborah called Garrett. I know because he left his phone on the kitchen counter and I saw her name flash. She told him it was already over. Said I was falling apart exactly like she expected. Garrett left me a voicemail later. Circled around saying sorry without ever landing on it. I saved it to 2 different places. Meanwhile Marcus had been working quietly. Lena confirmed the courtroom audio system was logged as active for our hearing date. Every word said in that room would be captured. He also had a sealed secondary filing ready. Contained everything Danny found. The notary stamp. The VA access. The witness connection. He could submit it the second I gave the signal. We agreed on the signal ahead of time. When I moved my pen from the left side of my legal pad to the right side, he files. The night before the hearing I didn't review documents. Didn't rehearse questions. Didn't pace around running scenarios. I sat on Lily's floor and read to her stuffed rabbit. That's my reset. Been doing it since she was a baby. The rabbit doesn't care if I mess up the words. I slept 4 hours. That was enough. I got to the military courthouse at 7 a.m. Wore that same navy blazer again. No power suit. No statement jewelry. I wanted to look like someone who'd already accepted losing. Deborah arrived an hour later with Crane and 2 paralegals. She was flawless. Hair done. Pearls out. Walking like she was closing a billion-dollar deal. She saw me at the defense table. Quiet. Shoulders curved in. Eyes a little red from no sleep. Her whole body relaxed. She actually smiled. The hearing started. Deborah's team presented their case first. Smooth and polished. Miriam Taft took the stand and told the room she saw me lose control at school pickup. Her voice was steady. She'd rehearsed. Dr. Foss's letter went into evidence. The forged notary stamp. The whole thing. I stared at the table and said nothing. Marcus handled cross-examination. But he didn't attack. Just asked soft questions. Open little doors. Asked Miriam what time the pickup happened. Asked her who else was standing nearby. Asked Dr. Foss, through the letter, whether he'd ever reviewed my actual medical records. No fireworks. No gotcha moments. Deborah watched all this and read it wrong. She thought Marcus was going easy because we had nothing. She leaned over to Crane during a break and said it loud enough for half the room to hear. Finish it. I heard her. My hand stayed still on the legal pad. Pen on the left side. Not yet. Deborah took the stand looking completely comfortable. She'd testified before committees and boards her whole life. This was just another stage to her. She delivered her statement about my instability with perfect polish. You could hear the satisfaction underneath every word. She believed she was finishing me. Marcus stood up for cross-examination. Still calm. Still measured. Questions that seemed almost boring at first. How long have you known your daughter-in-law? How often do you see your granddaughter? Nothing aggressive. Then he shifted. He asked how she learned about the contents of my sealed VA psychological file. Deborah answered smoothly. Too smoothly. She said she'd reviewed it. Marcus asked who authorized her to review a sealed federal record. She shifted in her chair. Said she was simply informed by concerned parties. Didn't answer the question. Marcus asked who those parties were. He said Carol Reese. Her own assistant. The room changed after that name came out. I felt it. A shift in temperature. But I kept my eyes down on my legal pad. Marcus asked one more quiet question. Whether Deborah had ever discussed her custody strategy with Miriam Taft's husband. That's when she cracked. Just a little. Her voice went sharp. She said that was completely irrelevant. Too loud. Too fast. Everything she just said was already on the live court record. Every name. Every admission. I moved my pen from the left side of my pad to the right. Marcus saw it. Nodded once. Marcus stood up and submitted the sealed filing. Everything Danny found. The illegal VA access. The forged notary. The witness tied to the Winslow board. All of it went to the judge. He called a recess. Said she needed time to review. That's when Deborah cornered me in the hallway. The doors were still open behind us. The courtroom audio system doesn't stop just because you walk out. It records continuously in that hallway area during recess. I knew that. He didn't. She came at me with both barrels. The mask was gone. This wasn't the polished society woman anymore. This was something meaner. He told me the whole plan. How she arranged the witnesses. Which ones she picked and why. How she instructed Dr. Foss to write that letter. How she had Carol pull my VA record from the federal system. The timeline. The names. Everything came out in cold, furious detail. She said my PTSD was real and documented. Said no judge would ever give a damaged soldier a child over a Winslow. Said my life in this state was finished. My career. My reputation. My daughter. She stood 3 feet from me. Close enough that I could smell her perfume. I didn't say a word. Just looked at her. Let her keep going. When she finally ran out of steam, I spoke quietly. Soft enough that only she could hear. Thank you, Deborah. I needed you to say that out loud. Her face changed. The first real fear I'd ever seen on her. Not anger. Not frustration. Fear. Because she finally understood. The courtroom doors were still open. The microphones were still on. And she'd just confessed to everything on federal record. We walked back inside. She didn't say another word. The judge came back in less than an hour. She'd reviewed Danny's findings and Deborah's hallway confession. Her face was stone. She dismissed the emergency custody petition with prejudice. That meant Deborah could never refile it. Ever. Not next month. Not next year. Never. Then she referred everything to federal prosecutors. The illegal VA record access. The forged notary. The coerced witness testimony. All of it. Philip Crane withdrew from the case before the afternoon session ended. Didn't even pack his bag properly. Just walked out. Carol Reese talked to investigators within 2 days. Gave them everything. Names. Dates. Instructions from Deborah. The whole conspiracy mapped out clean. Miriam Taft recanted her statement in writing by the end of the week. Said she'd been told what to say. Dr. Foss surrendered his medical license. His lawyer told him to. Better than facing criminal charges. Garrett didn't fight the divorce. He signed whatever Marcus put in front of him. In a hallway exchange he told me he was sorry. I looked at him for a long moment. Said I know. Then walked away. That was the last real conversation we ever had. Deborah faced federal charges. For the first time in her life her money meant nothing. Her connections meant nothing. Because the evidence lived in a military court record that nobody could touch or buy or charm away. A few weeks later I picked Lily up from school. Ordinary Tuesday. She ran across the parking lot with her backpack bouncing. I caught her. Held her. Closed my eyes. I didn't think about the courtroom. Or Deborah. Or the 48 hours. Or the long rope. I thought about nothing except the weight of my daughter in my arms. Some battles you fight with weapons. The one that mattered most I won with silence and patience. Letting a powerful woman believe she'd already won. He gave me everything I needed. She always was going to. I just had to wait. Subscribe for more. And tell me in the comments, when did you last watch someone dig their own grave?